Okay, everyone, good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. Welcome to the Cabinet meeting. As usual, this is broadcast live via the website and will be archived so you can view it afterwards. Usual stuff, microphones on and microphones off. Apologies, we've none. Minutes, page 3 to 10, I'll move the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of February are taken, read, confirmed and signed. Deborah?
I'll second that.
All in favour? Thank you very much. Urgent items. We've got one urgent item, a report of the Director of Law and Governance and the Director of Environment and Transport regarding reports of the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman. I'll take this as item 12 on the agenda. 3 declarations of interest. Blake?
Yeah, just about the same item. The family has a relationship with the taxi company, so I just wanted to declare an interest. It's non-pecuniary.
Yes, I understand that's really normal one, Blake. 4, Environment and Transport, Highways and Transport Capital Programme and Works Programme. This is on pages 11 to 64. We've got Anne here, who's the Director. This has been developed in accordance with the overall budget envelopes in the MTFS. No additional funding is sought. Highways Transport Overview and Scrutiny looked at this in their meeting in March. Its comments are attached to the report. Can we also note we've got comments from Max, who's the Labour Environment spokesman. These were attached to the order paper for this meeting. I'm going to let Max speak on this after. Are you speaking first or second? I think you're speaking first, I think, Max, aren't you? After this, Anne will present the report. So you speak first, Max. Oh, is Amanda here? Oh, and then after Max has spoken, if you wait, Anne, we've got Amanda, Labour Group Leader. So, Max, over to you. She's online, Max, so don't look for her.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Leader. First of all, just on the paper, the case made for the maintenance of highways assets is, I thought, excellent and should be supported in every way. My comments really relate to the capital work, the major capital works programme, which to say the finance of which is pretty tricky. But the missing part of the report, in my view, is the reference to our climate change policies, which are trumpeted at the very beginning of the report, but not mentioned thereafter. And that actually seems to be the way we're dealing with our onerous obligations on climate change, simply by ignoring it. Carbon and sustainability is something we have to address by law when planning applications come through. But when we have a major capital programme like this, they can comfortably apparently be ignored. So when it comes to planning officers, by the way, even their references refer to the easing of congestion and literally a few bike lanes as being somehow compensation for the carbon offset. So that's my major concern with the report, and I really do feel strongly that where we bring highways projects, major highways projects at the early stage, as we still are, that we really do have to try to quantify the carbon emissions and make sense of our climate change policies.
Thank you. We'll deal with yours first and then go to Amanda. Who wants? Anne, do you want to say anything to Max? Okay, we'll stay there then, Max. Do you want to say anything at this stage, Ozzy?
No, thank you, Leader, not at present time.
Okay, if you stay there then, Max, and then Anna. So we're going to do you next, Amanda.
Thank you, Chair. It was just a very small amendment to the papers that are in the documents. I was concerned that item 70.7 indicated that the spend was conditional on further improvements to the junction. Actually, what was suggested at the committee was that the budget to resurface the location in question, which is the Braunston Lane East, Narber Road South junction, was an opportunity to take a look at any other additional safety work that could take place within that scheme. That was accepted by highways officers. What I didn't want it to be seen as the minute, I think, suggests is that it's conditional, and it's not. And highways colleagues have already come back with a satisfactory response on that question, but it was just to highlight to Cabinet that position. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you've had a response. We've got a response officially from the Cabinet, and Deborah's going to do it.
Thanks, Mrs. Hack. Just to let you know that when we spoke earlier about this, we weren't aware that you were effectively asking for amendment to the minutes of the Highway and Transport Overview Scrutiny Committee. It's not in the gift of the Cabinet to do that, so it's a matter for the committee itself at its next meeting. So it might be good to raise it at that point, but just for this afternoon, all we can do is note what you're asking.
Okay, Amanda, so we've heard what you said and we're noting what you said, but we can't amend the minute. Okay, over to you, Anne.
Thank you, Leader. As you've already outlined, this report sets out for the year our capital and our works programme across the highway and transport services. The summary capital programme itself is Appendix A of the report, and you will see that this covers our major schemes such as the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road, the A511, those major areas that we're progressing, as well as other activities such as vehicle replacement, our street lighting programme, our capital maintenance works on the highways out there, and scheme development. The Appendix B sets out the detail of the works programme under each category, so there's far more detail for members to peruse in that appendix. The main point I'd want to highlight to the Cabinet is the financial context this programme's been developed around and some of the implications of this. On top of the impacts of a decade of austerity followed by the pandemic, we've now got high inflation, which particularly affects construction costs, fuel, energy, all key things when it comes to delivering highways and transport. So it really has exacerbated the challenges for what we can deliver on the network out there. Our funding for the works comes from a mixture, predominantly government allocation of grants, and at times there's some of our own county council capital as well as developer contributions. We also apply for ad hoc competitive capital funds from government when those streams come forward. The ongoing financial challenges, however, for local authorities means that the council is no longer in the position to forward fund work. For instance, where developer funding will come forward over a number of years that contributes towards the cost of a scheme, for instance, and before we would have forward funded that, whereas that's now no longer a sustainable model for us, given our financial scenario. The challenge, however, is exacerbated by the fact that the grants we get from DFT have been relatively static over the last decade. Overall, that means our buying power is less, so what we can deliver on the network is less. As mentioned, a programme has been developed to fit our funding envelope and doesn't cover all the work we know that needs to happen out there on the network. The condition of the network in Leicestershire, therefore, is deteriorating. This, however, does reflect the national situation. We're by no means alone in this. It is a national situation. That's again further exacerbated by ongoing population growth, and for Leicestershire we have higher than average population forecasts than the East Midlands or the English national averages. So we will see higher growth than those averages. Means more vehicles on the network, more requirement for work because there's more wear and tear, etc. So overall, a very challenging position for us. And a further pressure comes in, and has been alluded by Mr. Hunt, in terms of climate change and decarbonisation, the effect of extreme weather on the network, additional costs, and then actually the need to decarbonise both in what we deliver, how we deliver, and then effect change of how our network is used as well, all have financial challenges attached to them. In summary, these capital and works programme represents significant investment. However, it's 252 million over the 4-year NTFS period, 74 million in this current year, so significant investment. However, despite that, it will not be sufficient to support the growth agenda or address the extent of maintenance or improvements we'd want to see across our network. I would just caveat, however, Leicestershire roads are amongst the best in the country, and we've seen that over a number of years, how we perform against other authorities. However, we are seeing a deterioration in that network. To mitigate this, we do, as far as we are able, ensure that the money goes towards works that will deliver the maximum benefit over the longest period of time. But that becomes increasingly difficult as we're having to divert more money into reactive works out there. As you've already mentioned, the Highway and Transport Overview and Scrutiny Committee considered this report in March, and their comments are set out in paragraph 70. Finally, I will just come to Mr Hunt's observations and comments, which are appended in the order paper, and he's spoken to already in the meeting. Mr Hunt states there are many policies that conflict in this area, notes that our local transport plan is out of date. I would reassure Cabinet there's work going on to update and produce a new local transport plan. We are waiting, and it has been long awaited, DFT's guidance on local transport plans, and specifically how to quantify carbon and what we should be doing on that. And again, I mean, I absolutely endorse what Mr Hunt's saying in terms of our ability we should be quantifying carbon around what we're doing in terms of our major schemes and all our works there. And there's much work going on across the sector and how that is done. For instance, we are a member, along with about 20 or 30 other local authorities, who are working in something called the Future Highway Research Group, that is looking about how you do baseline your carbon and how you quantify it going forward. So it is an area where there's lots happening, and it's evolving, and it's a challenge across, nationally for all authorities, but there is work happening on that. And I think a key as well will be with the local transport plans and the guidance that DFT have now said they will issue by the end of May this year. So just to reassure that we are evolving how we develop and deliver our transport programmes to meet some of those challenges that Mr Hunt has alluded to there. That's all I want to say. Thank you, Leader.
Max, before I go to Ozzy, are you okay then now?
Well, I'm grateful for the response, and it's a positive response, but it's not just about quantifying carbon, it's about reducing it, and we need to be tackling both of those. Yep,
well, we're all on board with that, Max.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to, do you want to say something before? Oh, no, I better do Ozzy first, Blake. Ozzy, it's your paper.
Thank you, Leader. I formally move the report. As Anna's quite amicably explained across the piece there, we are struggling with finances, the challenge of the rising costs of materials, but these works will help to enhance the road structure and benefit the residents of Leicestershire. I would urge our MPs yet again to support us in our challenge for fairer funding, because the way we're going, as Anna said, we have got one of the best roads in the country. I do pride that, and I pride the department that I lead as a cabinet member. But we can only do as much as we can do with the money that we have. And the potholes that we are facing and the money that they've given us, just over 3 million, is not going to be enough to actually do the work that we do need. So I support the report and I support the officers, and I just want to put on record that Mr Hunt, I back you 100%. We need to work with the climate change policy, and we need to improve, and we will do. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. I'll formally second Ozzy's motion. Blake, you're next.
Yeah, just with the lead member hat on with regards to the environment and the green agenda, just to respond to Max. And I know Max, I've said this many times before, is a passionate advocate for all the things to do with climate change and improving the environment, etc. But I feel, I've read this report, and I feel to claim that the report doesn't reference the net zero agenda that we have here at Leicestershire County Council is unfair. Paragraph 12 of the first part of the report lists 12 various policies that we work to here at County Hall, from A to J. Actually, 10 if my maths is correct. The net zero Leicestershire strategy is under J, and then we also have the cycling and walking strategy under H, and then the revised environment strategy and action plan under E. Now, I think a fair question would be, how far does each particular project honour the provisions within each of those particular strategies, and to what extent are they mutually exclusive? That's a fair comment. There are always trade-offs, but this report in and of itself does reference the environment agenda and the strategies and the work that we are doing here at Leicestershire County Council.
Good, thank you. Right, moved by Ozzy, seconded by myself. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Max. Five, Leicestershire Resources and Waste Strategy 2022 to 2050, pages 65 to 338. This report advises on the outcomes of the consultation on the strategy and seeks our approval for its adoption. It's a joint strategy with the seven districts and borough councils in Leicestershire, and it's going through their approval process. I think actually they've all approved it now. Maybe not Northwest, but that's tomorrow, I think. The Environment and Climate Change Overview and Scrutiny Committee considered the strategy at its meeting in January. Their comments are attached to the report. Anne's going to present the report. Then this is one of yours, Blake. So I'll come to you after Anne. Anne, go ahead.
Thank you. As you say, we're seeking approval of the Leicestershire Resources and Waste Strategy, which has been prepared by the Leicestershire Waste Partnership, comprising ourselves as the Waste Disposal Authority and the 7 district councils as their waste collection authorities. The Waste and Emissions Trading Act 2003 requires all 2-tier local authorities to have a joint municipal waste management strategy, which this would be. In addition, Government's National Resources and Waste Strategy, which was published in 2018, brings forward significant changes in resource and waste management, and this strategy therefore reflects that. A public consultation was carried out in spring 2022 for 12 weeks on the draft strategy, a draft options appraisal and a draft environmental report. And Appendix B contains that consultation report. We had over 5,000 responses, so really proactive engagement there. The key points coming out of that consultation are summarised in paragraphs 34 to 40 and again in 48 and 49. The main changes that I would highlight coming out of that consultation were to the pledges, and there was an additional pledge added in, and that was in relation to fly tipping. There are 12 pledges there, and they're set out in paragraph 52 of the report. The strategy is supported by an action plan, and that will be subject to regular review. And again, because very much there's various different initiatives coming out of government on how waste will be managed in future, that action plan will be the means of capturing that and reflecting how we will deal with that locally within Leicestershire. The final point relates to finance. Due to the uncertainty of the national proposals coming forward on waste and the implications that they might have for local authorities, there is a finance position statement included within the strategy to the effect that some of the pledges will only be implemented if additional funding comes forward to meet these new burdens. And just to clarify and confirm what you said, Leader, at the outset of the 8 authorities, there's only one more following ourselves, which is Northwest, due to approve the strategy later this week.
Yeah, tomorrow, as it happens. Blake, over to you.
Yes, and I'm pleased to move the motion on the order paper, Leader, when it comes to this report. It's an example where the County Council has worked exceedingly well with the borough and district councils. We have to have this policy in place. It's a matter of law. And to that extent, we've worked with the Borough and District Council. They've worked with us to identify where there's common ground and where we can work together. I think the Director's already mentioned that we're strengthening the provisions within the strategy with regards to waste and recycling in particular, because some of the functions of an upper tier authority is to dispose of the waste. And we all know that the functions of a Borough and District Council, what we call a lower tier authority, is to collect the waste. And clearly we both have a responsibility to deal with the recycling and the recycling and such issues as fly tipping, etc. So I'm pleased to say that we've worked extremely hard, and I'm happy to support the report and move it here at Cabinet. Thank you.
Sure, I'll second it. I mean, it's always difficult, I think, really, where 8 people collect and only 1 dispose. I mean, ultimately, if you're looking at it rationally, you'd have 1 collection and disposal authority for the whole county. I note in the papers that I've read that some district councils have actually acknowledged the weakness in the system, but we are where we are, aren't we, really? So I'll have to second it. Anybody else want to speak? Nope. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Six is the Leicestershire and Rutland Health and Wellbeing Partnership. It's the draft integrated care strategy. It's on pages 339 to 376. We're asked to agree the comments set out in the report at paragraphs 15 to 23 to be submitted to the partnership. We've got Mike, who's the director, and Joshna, who's the assistant director, here to present the report. Welcome to you two. So are you doing it, Mike, or Joshna?
It's going to be Joshna and then quick comments from me at the end.
Very good. Welcome, Joshna. Over to you. And then I'm coming to you, Louise. Okay.
Thank you. Just a bit of background. Following the establishment of the integrated care systems in July 2022, integrated care partnerships were formed to bring together a broad set of partners with the aim of improving the health, wellbeing and care of our residents in the local area. Locally, the ICP has been renamed as the LLR Health and Wellbeing Partnership, which was formed in August 22 and is responsible for producing an integrated care strategy, which sets out how the health and wellbeing needs of our population within the ICS area will be met. A first draft of that strategy has been produced and it's been shared with key stakeholders, which includes the Health and Wellbeing Board and the County Council for feedback before formal engagement with a wider set of partners takes place, and that will be led by the LLR Health and Wellbeing Partnership. Proposed comments to be submitted on behalf of the Council are set out in paragraphs 15 to 23 of the report for the Cabinet's consideration. We've grouped those into key themes that we've identified. So strengths of the strategy include that there's good emphasis on workforce development, prevention and health equity, and also on the cost of living crisis. It's recognised as quite an immediate issue. And another strength was the commitment to ongoing engagement with our local residents. However, there were quite a few areas of concern that were identified, and there were multiple issues raised around governance and structures. So, for example, the strategy implies that it underpins place-based plans, and it's not the case. The ICP strategy should build on and complement our place-based plan, which is the Joint Health and Wellbeing Strategy. Also, it's been noted that key partners such as the district councils and the voluntary sector are not recognised within the strategy. And also another one is that the themed subgroups that are referred to as collaboratives reported to feed directly into the Integrated Care Board. But we feel that the responses show that this should really ideally feed into the Health and Wellbeing Partnership, as they're formed of agencies across the partnership, not just the NHS alone. And also there was a comment around the governance structure not being clear in relation to the joined up approach across a neighbourhood system and place, and this needs to be much clearer, predominantly around avoiding duplication of work and around trying to maximise the input that we can all have. Aside from governance and structure, other areas of concern were around a gap around the emphasis on mental health. There was a request for having a greater emphasis, and also limited reference to wider determinants. So although there was reference around prevention and health equity, not much was referred to in terms of the wider determinants of health. So in summary, the Cabinet is recommended to submit the feedback in the report to the LLR Health and Wellbeing Partnership as the views of the County Council, and a final strategy will be presented to the LLR Health and Wellbeing Partnership for approval by autumn 2023 at the latest.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Justin. Just from me, just to sort of echo Justin's comments around the content of the strategy, I just wanted to sort of bring us back to the comments made in paragraphs 21 and 22, because although comments around the finances and the workforce of the ICB lie outside the kind of commenting on the content of the strategy, I just find it very difficult to understand how the strategy is going to be delivered when we don't know the financial plan for the ICB for the current financial year, nor do we know what the implications are of this national 20 to 30% reduction in headcount of NHS bodies across the country. So in addition to the comments that Josh made, I think I'll just bring your attention to those comments in terms of what it might mean in deliverability, which is unknown.
Great. Louise.
Yes, I think we've made some inroads into this, but I think it has been a bit tricky to actually get a strategy set up, especially as it's meant to link into the 5-year plan for the NHS, which goes first this year. So we're going a bit out of sync for the initial strategy. We do need something that is readable by the general public. We need something that actually, I mean, the mental health issue is, it's across the 3 health and wellbeing board strategies. It hadn't been picked up very consistently through the document. So I think we're getting a bit more of a grasp on it now. And at the last Health and Wellbeing Partnership, which was last week, it was agreed, because this has been slightly altered since the very initial draft, it will go out to engagement and then come back to Health and Wellbeing boards in the autumn. So I'm happy to propose. Thank you.
Christine?
I'm happy to second it and support the comments made by Councillor Richardson and the officers with some of the concerns that have been raised. I mean, the report's very good, but there are some concerns that we need to get addressed and sorted before we want to accept it. Thank you.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favour? Thank you. Seven is the Leicestershire Youth Justice Strategy Plan 23 to 26. This is on pages 377 to 424. Scrutiny Commission have looked at this earlier in the month. Their comments were attached to the report. For us to support the plan submission to the next full council meeting for approval, I've got Jane Moore, Director of Children and Family Services, here to present, and then Deborah's in charge of this. So I'll come to you then, Deborah. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. So the report in front of you is presenting the updated version of the Leicestershire Youth Justice Strategic Plan that covers the period between 2023 and 2026. The County Council does have a statutory duty to make sure that we produce a youth justice plan, and the updated 3-year plan was considered by the Youth and Justice Management Board, but also at Scrutiny Commission on the 12th of April. Just by way of background, the Youth Justice Plan that you've got in front of you highlights a continuing positive performance of the Youth and Justice Service across the year, but also sets out the service's priorities and objectives across the next 3 years. The focus of the plan is primarily around developing our child first practices, so seeing children rather than offenders, and responding to the serious violence duty and embedding the new 10 key performance indicators from the Youth Ministry of Justice. The challenges faced by youth justice partnerships across the country are primarily concerned around child exploitation and also serious youth violence. Indeed, in Leicestershire and Rutland, there are strong operational and strategic partnerships that are working hard to deal with child exploitation, and the County Council's continued commitment to preventive services in this area supports this approach alongside that partnership intervention. There is a requirement that the plan is agreed by the statutory partners of the Youth Justice Partnership, and consultation did start to take place at the beginning of December and ran through till the 10th of March. And we've also been working with children in co-producing some of the work to support the Youth Justice Plan as well. The Youth Justice Plan did go to Scrutiny Commission on the 12th of April, and the plan was welcomed and certainly supported the work of the service as well. And you can see in paragraph 18, there were a number of comments that Scrutiny Commission made as well. So I'll move to the recommendations around noting the comments of the Scrutiny Commission on the plan, and also that the County Council at its meeting in May be recommended to support the Youth Justice Strategic Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Deborah?
Thank you. Not really much more to add, just to point out it is a really good plan, but there's not that many changes from the previous 3-year plan, but obviously it will get renewed every year. We'll have a refresh of it, but I think it's really just important to note also that the voice of the child is running throughout the plan, which is really important that we listen to what our children are telling us, because the services are for them. So I'm really pleased to see voice work all the way through the plan. Happy to move the motion.
Thank you. Pam?
Thank you. I think this is a great paper. I read it with great interest, and I welcome the plan because it demonstrates not only working with young offenders, but we're actually including the families. And that is a key to a lot of young people's behavioural issues, whether it's offending or other issues that young people have. So I have no hesitation in seconding this proposal.
Very good, thanks for that, Pam. All in favour? Thank you. Jane? 8 is the exception to contract procedure rules, urgent action taken by the Chief regarding mental health assessors 425 to 430. We have to agree to an exception to the contract procedure rules. The exception enabled the arrangements to be made for a qualified mental health assessor to complete assessments in connection with the deprivation of liberty standards. We've got Inderjit here, who's the Assistant Director of Adults and Communities, to present the report. Then I'm coming to you, Christine. Inderjit.
Thank you, Leader. I think you've pretty much clocked it all in one there, to be honest. So there's 2 reports. So there's one on the one you just said around the Dole's assessments, and there's one on the award of a contract to Vassal to support carers. So they're both exception reports. So it's for Cabinet to note the actions taken outside of the Council's contractual and procedural rules. The carers one to Vassal, so we got some money from the Department of Health for hospital discharge, pretty much told in December, got the money in January, had to be spent by the end of March. So not ideal, but we did quite a lot of internal work around some of our teams. We did a lot of work with the care sector, but this contract specifically to support carers for hospital discharge. And then the one you just mentioned was around Dole's assessments. We've got a standing list of about 20 doctors who we work with around the assessments. Current arrangement ran out in December, but we've directly awarded to the standing list for a further 2 years. But since this exception, the new legislation has been postponed again. So we're likely to try and formalise this arrangement, so we're not having to do exceptions moving forward. So that's our proposal to get as part of a framework.
Very good. Well, we're doing this one first, and we do the second one second. So I might come back to you on the second. We've got to take them separately.
It's fine.
It's 2 separate votes.
Yeah, we've got to take 2 separate votes in Georgia, but same hill of beans. Christine.
Yeah, I'm happy to support the action that the Chief Executive had to take with such short time span to spend the money. So I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Good, I'll second it. All in favour? Okay, that's the first one. And the second one you type of alluded to in Georgia, which is the urgent action again. Distribution of adult social care discharge fund. Do you want to say anything in addition to what you said before?
No, I think I've pretty much clocked it, really.
Okay, over to you again, Christine.
Yeah, happy again to support the action that the Chief Executive took, that we needed to make sure that carers and that were well supported with action taken. Thank you.
And I'll second that one as well. All in favour? Thank you. Thanks, Inderjit. Next one, 10, County Council meetings 23-24 to 24-25, pages 437 to 438. I'll move them. Deborah?
I'll second.
All happy with your council meetings? Very good, thank you. Items referred to overview and scrutiny, none. And then now we've got the urgent action, which we've got Lauren here for, who's head of law. It concerns a complaint about council duties to provide home to school travel assistance for eligible students, and the Ombudsman found we'd made some mistakes. And are you going to run through it, Lauren?
Anne's going to present.
Okay, very good. Over to you, Anne, and then coming to you, Ozzy, because it's one of yours. Okay.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, this report appends the public report has been issued by the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman, setting out their findings in relation to a complaint that we received about the Council's post-16 SEN transport service. The complaint regarded the handling of an application for post-16 transport. The application was considered in April 21, but not progressed due to the lack of mandatory information as part of that application. A decision that was followed up, and a decision allocating a personal travel budget was made in June 2021. following which the parent appealed this decision. The appeal was dismissed in August. A second stage appeal was then heard in October 21, and that was upheld, and transport was put in place from January 2022. The council, however, did not pay reimbursement of travel costs during the appeal period, and therefore the parent took the matter up with the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman reviewed the complaint and concluded that council was at fault for a number of reasons, including the length of delay in the application process and in providing transport post the appeal. The appeal process was seen as difficult due to difficulty in accessing information on our website and because of the impact on young people with disabilities and education, health and care plans and injustice to the parent. The recommendations are for the council to apologise to the parent, which has been done, to reimburse costs based on evidence provided, and to pay £500 in recognition of the delayed process and the stress that that has caused. Actions to address the failings have been specified and are set out in paragraph 20 with a more detailed action plan appended to the report. The council fully accepts the findings of the Ombudsman. I'd highlight, however, as part of the context that that academic year in question was the first we implemented a new policy for the post-16 home to school transport, and we saw a far higher rate of appeals than in a normal year. At the same time, we were experiencing significantly more contract terminations from taxi providers who were having to re-procure those as well. And there was a delay in some of the EHCP assessments, allowing which caused further delays in the process. The other factor was the limited availability of wheelchair accessible taxis in the market. Again, all those factors caused that delay in this particular instance and put pressure on the service, hence the outcome, unfortunately, in this instance. We had no other complaints to the Ombudsman during this period. The action plan that is appended it addresses the recommendations that the Ombudsman's made, and we anticipate these will be completed within the timescales that the Ombudsman has stipulated. They'll also be taken into account as we are undergoing a wider review of our school transport service, so we'll make sure they're taken into account as part of that as well. This report comes to Cabinet as a requirement to lay the findings of the Ombudsman before elected members for your consideration, and also I just confirmed that we are required to put notices in the local press, and that as well is happening. Just final point, if the Ombudsman is not satisfied with the Council's response, they may issue a further report. But, as I say, we have an action plan that's being fully implemented to address the findings that have been made in this instance. The recommendations are to note the report and the actions to implement and address the findings.
Thank you. Anything from Head of Law?
No, I don't think there's anything I can usefully add. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Ozzy?
Thank you, Leader. As the Director has outlined, the Department fully accepts the findings of the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman report into this complaint. It was a challenging year in delivering SEN home to school transport with the new policy introduced. Delays with educational health and care plan information and difficulties with the taxi market. However, we are extremely sorry that this has led to the failings in this case, and I stress that this has caused, and the stress that this has caused to the persons concerned. The Department is actioning the measures identified by the Ombudsman and will ensure that these improvements in the process are embedded into the service delivery from now on, and I give my sincere apologies to the family affected.
Thank you, Ozzy. Deborah?
Thank you. Just to reiterate that the apologies to the family, I think as set out in the report, there was a catalogue of issues that led to delay in this case, but we have issued our apology to the family and for the child involved, and they have been reimbursed for the cost. So all we can do is send our apologies, and things have been rectified, and we'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
Indeed, we don't do it on purpose, and we are sorry. All in favour? Thank you. I think that concludes it, isn't it, Deborah? Okay, thank you very much. We're done. Lauren.